Hello friends, Moon speaking. I know you haven't heard from me in a while. What you're about to hear is an example of the bonus content we are starting to release for our Ko-Fi members. The first round of bonus episodes will be releasing at the end of this month. If you want to hear more about the world of the present, its folk tales, and the stories of the characters within, go check out the 6 tiers of membership offers we have on our Ko-Fi, which you can find at linktree/threadcrying. Some of these tales will be PCs, some NPCs, and some tales of characters you may not yet know at all. So we look forward to sharing with you and enjoy the bonus episode. No, I do not mind telling the tale of how Elena died. It is a short tale, and a simple one. I was away, in Donning, searching for work. She was still home, Rasul. She was ill, and the sickness killed her. You see, back then, even more so than now, there was no way to get healers, medicine, advanced practitioners of those arts. There were no rail lines. But how we met, that is a fonder memory. Though dark in its own way as well. If Elena and I had never met, I can still say with some certainty where Elena would have lived and died. Myself, on the other hand, we cannot tell. There would be no Commander Nico. Perhaps I would have led a happier life. I don't know, I can only tell the story of the one you know as Yuina Nico, once Commander Nico, once just Yuina, once something else. In those days there were no train tracks to follow. Ley lines traced invisibly over the earth, but most could not sense them. Some did, with study and care. I did. The oceans did not take to outsiders marking the land. Yet, locating the ley lines was work, a way to survive until it killed you, and a way to travel far, far from home, which is exactly where my young self wanted to go. Far. Fueled by desperation and determination, I did as I could. I followed the lines, I marked them with steady hands on my hand-drawn maps, and I twisted my wire endlessly in my hands, and sent my messages to whomever had hired me for this one, this time. It was not good enough. That is the downfall of most ley seekers. We are never quite good enough. I was lost. I had reached the marshlands beside the seas, somewhere along the southern coast. The land itself, the mud and silt, pulled at me and threw me down and under. It took all my strength to take a step, and the aberrations of the ocean sense weakness with ease. With a woman already halfway to broken, my horizon was near. The marsh stole my reflection from the murky water and tore at me and pulled my reflected shape into a monstrous thing that bit at me and spoke in my voice and my words that I could not comprehend. I fought, by my blade, by my magic that had long begun to flicker and fade, but I would not have survived on my own. Those who do not believe in fate must admit it was at least extreme good luck that Elena Nico had traveled so far over the seas to land on the Octaria shoreline. You see, the era of total isolation was ending. Even Glacos, her home, a small and distant island from the shores of Octarius, an offshoot of Rasul, held the interest of its far-off neighbors. All trade was held in especially high regard. Elena's small boat was filled with the fruits of her island, apricots and peaches and oranges that would soon be making an unexpected return home. I fought her, a crazed animalistic battle against the aberrations that blinded me to my surroundings. How could I think an ally had arrived when all thoughts had been driven away? Elena was strong. She evoked the words of Gesh, sleep. I resisted with all of the strength fear can lend until I fell. Our meeting was not a gentle one, but it was kind. Most would leave a dying stranger to their ends if they had to face the oceans for them. Instead, I woke, days later, healed and whole, to golden morning sunlight filtering through comically ineffective white curtains. My last few days of consciousness were a blur I could not yet bring myself to investigate, so I stared at the dust motes in the sun until Elena quietly entered. I did not know her name then. I eyed my savior. She held a large basket in her arms, her strength making light what should have been heavy. Her dark skin was sun-deepened from the life of a harvester, and her frame was steady and muscular and hard-angled, but there was softness in her movement and in her voice as she assuaged my fears in heavily accented common. "Don't kill me," I said. The first word shared between us. "You're safe here. You're in Rasul." I fell to the only sane line of questioning I could hold. Polite, simple. "What is your name?" "My name is Elena Nico. Yuina." And that was that. I watched over the next few weeks as I returned to myself. Elena, the druid who had found me, I can see her still when I visit the memories. An elven woman with traces of sunlight in hazel eyes, the sign of distant Fey ancestry that even she could not quite place. She stood only a few inches taller than myself, but her presence was big, with a broad open smile and impressive strength in a frame that would have been willowy in a different life. She had a straight, narrow nose and downturned eyes, and expressiveness she rarely tried to disguise. Her dark hair was long, tied back loosely and kept away from her face with a headscarf as she worked. She wore these simple clothes of Glekos, made beautiful by her own dyes, and the blue rare for her island. From the indigo she traded for her oranges. What Elena saw over the next few weeks as she cared for me? A lone traveler, impossibly small, the hard angles of my body not from a life of laborious work, but the thin hardness of existence led by struggle. I suspect I was near impossible for her to read at first, with one half of my face twisted by its permanent grimace. This trust shaped me, though dulled by the exhaustion that comes with healing. I always met Elena's eyes with the challenge set in my own. I braided my hair carefully every morning. I watched Elena and the life she led with a curated distance that slowly grew to a curiosity. One day I asked for a loom. I began weaving again. To say we fell in love at first sight would be a lie. I believe myself to have always had the heart of a romantic, but that Yuina could not know that yet. She would, though, soon. Her life had no space to learn of who she was until her years in Rasul. Until Elena. Of course, I healed quickly, and I said, "I have to leave." And Elena said, "Stay a little longer." And I stayed a little longer. And a little longer. For a long time. And that long time together was peaceful, mostly. That young Yuina Nico defended the lands from the oceans with Elena at her side. She turned into the person you could recognize. She had a home. She fell in love quickly.